Hi, I'm Rachel Kaser, news writer for GamesBeat, and I'm here with Mac Reynolds of Night Street Games. Mac, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for being on the big show.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, let's talk Night Street Games. I hear you started a little game studio.
I did. I started with my brother Dan. You know, we grew up playing games. Used to do a little bit of coding myself when I was a kid in 3D modeling, and Dan still codes all the time. And yeah, living out a lifelong dream. So we started this together a few years ago, and we're pretty close to a game launch.
Now, I want to hear everything about your game career now, but for the sake of the people watching or listening who might not know what your other career is, maybe tell them what else you do for work.
Yeah, I also manage the band Imagine Dragons, and so my brother Dan's a singer.
Just a little musical project.
Yeah, well, it was just a little musical project for a long time, right? And so Dan and I, even though we've been in music for a long time, you know, we've done every collaboration we could get our hands on in gaming since I don't even know when. You know, we played the first Game Awards. We helped launch the Nintendo Switch in the Super Bowl. We've done stuff with Riot Games, lots of companies, because we love games. And yeah, we talked for years about making them and finally decided, yeah, we should make them.
Was there any particular reason you wanted to do it now?
No, I think we just had kind of momentum. You know, we knew we had the time and the resources and definitely had the will. And then we had our first game idea. And so, you know, it's funny because it's like, you know, they say like you spend your whole year writing your first album. And I think you've spent your whole life writing your first album. Then you get like a year for album 2. And I think it's kind of like that your first game. Like we've been thinking about this for so long, that it just feels like the culmination of a lot of kind of childhood dreams and plans.
So speaking of your idea for your first game that you've been working on, so I hear it's Capture the Flag.
It is Capture the Flag.
Take me all the way back to when that started, which I'm sure was quite some time ago.
It is. We grew up in Boy Scouts. You know, we got a ton of boys in my family. We all were Scouts. And, you know, we used to play Capture the Flag in the woods at night. And that's kind of a very kind of quintessential childhood experience. And there's been tons of Capture the Flag game modes over the years, and a lot of, you know, Warsong Gulch, Unreal Tournament, Quake, all these games that were super fun, but none of them really got to the core and scratched that itch of what real Capture the Flag felt like, which was really more hide and seek. It was hide your flag anywhere you want, sneak across the enemy lines, bring it back to your base. And so we started from this premise of, okay, what does pure Capture the Flag feel like? What is it? How do you tap into that nostalgia and that feeling you had as a kid? And that freedom you have to kind of set your own playing field. A lot of Capture the Flag game modes are really more payload escort. I know where your base is. I know where your flag is. I'm going to get it, bring it back. Ours is like, no, like the world's your oyster. Like you want to put it in some obvious place. It's easy to defend, do it. You want to do it in a place that's a little more hard to find. Like that's up to you.
And so you're coming into the games industry, fresh from another industry. So what's that been like? What's the experience been like of starting a game?
It's funny. Like I try not to make any kind of lazy comparisons between music and gaming, but I really found a lot of similarities. But I will tell you the one thing that was a very refreshing difference, I think, for me that I found is, you know, in music, it's really all about the artist, and in gaming, it's really all about the art. And I think that was like a really special thing for Dan and I both, that like people recognize that and they know it takes a village to make something special in gaming. And so it's so collaborative, so warm. And, you know, we had a little imposter syndrome probably coming in, and people have just been so incredibly awesome and sharing and giving in terms of knowledge and just support.
And you say that you and Dan have been wanting to make games. Like you even said Dan codes in his spare time, but you know, it takes more than just the two of you to build a game like this. So can you tell me about how you built the studio, how you recruited talent?
Yeah, no, in fact, it's funny because when we kind of started putting our team together, I remember trying to check in like a 3D axe I made. I was like, hey, I do a little modeling. Like I sent in, it was like crickets. And I realized at that point in time, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely out of my depth in terms of actual dev work. So we have been really lucky. You know, it's a hard time for this industry.
Yeah.
And, you know, the silver lining to that hard time is there's a lot of great people looking for work. And so we have been so lucky to work and rub shoulders with people who have made some of our favorite games ever. Our game director, Matthew Berger, worked on the whole Diablo series. Our senior tech director did the back end of Overwatch. Our game engineer came from Rainbow Six. Our character guy from Apex. You know, our environment guy came from Fortnite. These are people who have who are superhumans to me in terms of their ability, and just to be able to rub shoulders with them and collaborate with them has been like, it's been a dream, honestly.
And I noticed a lot of the games you mentioned have capture the flag mode.
They do.
But that's not quite what you're going for with this.
I think when people play our game, they're going to quickly realize it is different than, it's not even just different than other capture the flag game modes. It's different than any shooter. We really think of it as capture the flag first, shooter second.
Mm-hmm.
And the game loop, the first minute you're hiding the flag as a team anywhere you want. And you feel a different way. There's like, Dan does the soundtrack and there's this like 70s spy thriller feeling that's different than what you usually have. And you do not have to be a good shooter to succeed in the game. You can be awesome at flag finding. You can be sneaky and go farm these cache bots for your team or sneak onto the radar towers. The game has these towers that help you find the enemy flag. When you hold them, they eliminate a search area every 30 seconds in that sector. So if I'm holding tower A, it's like Battleship. Every 30 seconds, a new red square appears kind of saying, no flag here, no flag here, no flag here. So there are some really unique things happening in a very fast 10 to 15 minute game loop typically that feels different than shooters and very different than even capture the flag shooters.
So can you tell me like a little bit about like what an average day looks like in for Night Street Studios and for Night Street Games when you're developing, when you're working on the game? Like what does an average day look like, and how does that compare to like working as a manager for Imagine Dragons?
It's really weird because it's not too different from me, but I'm probably a little weird. I used to be really insecure that I wasn't great at anything, but I could do a lot of things okay. That ended up being really helpful for me as a manager. Maybe, whatever, like not quite a jack, like one level below that, but I could do a lot of stuff. Right? I could do a little video editing, I could do a little bit of music stuff, I could do whatever. And I found that in development, it's actually been really, really helpful. So my day, I mean, no job too small for any of us. I might wake up and be figuring out like a QR code thing for like an event that I'm going to be handing out cards at, or I might be working on the trailer and doing gameplay capture, but I'm constantly in calls all day with our team. We work remotely. And so we kind of live on Discord together. And my whole day is just creative brainstorming, problem solving, not too different in terms of like a lot of communication is at the heart of it all.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Like, what is because you mentioned it's remote. So, what kind of tools do you use to like keep up communication?
Yeah,
how important is communication?
Oh, it's so important. It's so important. And basically, because a lot of our team are spread out, some as far east as Ukraine and as far west as California, those first few hours of the morning are really critical time for us to be able to be together as a group. We have these blocks of meetings and things that we do regularly. But then there's a little bit of like a baton handoff where it's like, okay, like folks on the east side are going to bed. Folks on the west, we're kind of catching our stride. And so having really, really tight communication helps. We also have an outsourced team that we kind of fully integrated into our team because we didn't want those accountability gaps. We didn't want those visibility gaps. We wanted it to be one team. And so Discord is like, honestly, the central hub for us for everything. Sometimes we'll like venture out to like a Google Meets, didn't really do the Slack thing. And it works for us because we play in Discord. I feel like I'm in a Discord advertisement right now. It's not sponsored by Discord, but we love them.
Yeah. We've got the CEO around here somewhere.
Wherever, if you're here, I'm listening.
Yeah, that's something I've definitely heard before, is that Discord offers a lot of the solutions that game developers need, especially now that game developers have become much more remote. Remote is a much more common solution for game development teams than it used to be. Like, do you find that gives you access?
We integrate Discord bots into our Jiras. I mean, we're in it.
Do you think that helps you gain access to more talent than just, the people who are in your immediate geographical area?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that
it's kind of a leading question. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, since COVID, I think a lot of really great talent's expectations are, I want to stay where my family is. I want to live in X place or Y place. And I work out of my home office. Who am I to say, hey, let's all go gather somewhere? And there are benefits to being together in person too, though.
Yeah. I also work from home, so no. But I mean, I've worked from home for 10 years now, so trust me, I know it's like. And we said COVID, now that I wasn't sure if I should bring that up specifically, but that it has been a huge wave of change in the games industry. Like I presume if you've been following the games industry for a while, if you've been thinking about launching a game studio for a while, or even just a game development project. So and that was one of the reasons I asked why now is because it has like you said, this is not a fantastic time for the games industry. So what have there been any challenges of launching a studio at this time?
I think everybody's facing challenges. Money is a challenge I've seen so many great studios who are making a great game and can't make it to the finish line. And I think part of it is, it's a bit of a fear-based economy right now. And you see a similar thing happening in film and even to some extent in music, where some great things are happening. Like the barrier to entry for developers is lower. The barrier to distributes are lower. So there's a ton of competition, but there's a lot of opportunity. But I think that there is a difficulty for people in terms of focusing in on supporting that kind of middle economy of games where a lot of the innovation happens. A lot of these AA studios aren't making it because people want to make a safer bet on another sequel or a safer bet on another franchise. And you have a lot of great smaller indie studios thriving as well. But I think especially in that kind of middle bracket, it is a tough time. And that's kind of right where we are.
Yeah. So you'd consider yourself more of like a AA kind of studio?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, we're making a multiplayer shooter. It's kind of like...
That's true.
It's not going to be super cheap. We try to do the best we can. But yeah, I'd say we're like indie/AA, on a good day, maybe.
So can you tell me, I mean, because you've already like revealed your game to the world. Yeah. So, tell everybody what your game is called. Yeah,
the game is Last Flag.
Last Flag.
Go to lastflag.com. You can find
I almost called it First Flag, so I'm glad I made you say it.
You know what? You were the first flag, but it'll be the last flag. You go to lastflag.com. You can sign up. We have playtests happening all the time. We have a huge playtest culture. We're always funneling people in. We've got about 5,000 people in the Discord right now, and we keep growing it. So I always encourage people to go in there, sign up, and we'll get you in for a playtest.
So what's the reaction from the players been like so far?
So far, great.
Yeah.
We're really, really excited about the reaction. And, right now our focus is on onboarding. It's whenever you have a new game loop, there's an educating that has to happen. And so helping people kind of grok very quickly, what makes the game different and how to play it and how to contribute is really, really important. So that's a focus for us. But, it was interesting at Gamescom and at our Brazil Game Show, both opportunities for us to have a big kind of LAN party experience with people kind of showing up. And you learn so much in that period of time. You kind of find out what people are excited about. And we're seeing people have an emotional reaction. And that's maybe the most important thing. But now our focus is, okay, how do you make game 1, game 2, game 3, game 5, all the way up to 100?
Yeah.
A good experience for onboarding.
And how do you keep that sort of pure capture the flag energy? Because like you say, you want it to be pure capture the flag as opposed to just a mode on another shooter game. So how do you have there been any cases where players are maybe expecting something, but you're trying to keep it more to a different...
I think it's a really fair question,
Because since you mentioned onboarding, like I think like people are very used to a different gameplay loop.
They are. And when people get the flag and it's like, go hide it and you have a minute, people are like, whoa, like what's going on? But hopefully it's a positive thing that it's a different type of experience for people. And, we quickly found that core loop of being able to hide it anywhere you want and find it was super fun, but also could be frustrating because people want roulette. They don't want poker. They want to feel like if I play my cards right, I have a real shot at winning. And hide and seek can feel like luck. And that's why we developed this kind of radar tower system and some other things to kind of combine objective gameplay with something that is really, really unique. But at the end of the day, I think people understand hide and seek. It's like gorilla tag. Like it's something very primal and core about it that people are like, I get it. That's fun.
We all played that as kids.
Yeah.
Are there any like rules that you had growing up that were specific to your capture the flag game?
Yeah. The flag has to be peeking out just a little bit. You can't like completely hide it.
Did any of those make it into the game?
In its own way, it did. The flag, it did by nature. We're very, very careful about curating tons of hiding spots, but nothing that is unfindable, I hope, although our players keep proving us wrong constantly. But yeah, I'd say there's a little bit to that still.
I want to know how much of the Reynolds brothers capture the flag game is in Last Flag.
Too much, probably. I think like, Dan and I grew up on like Sierra games and like LucasArts and Delphine, and like a lot of what I consider the things that we are most excited about in our game definitely took inspiration from the games we played as a kid. Like the humor from like Monkey Island, or Portal, the joy of movement from like Mario 64, like Prince of Persia, like all these things became game pillars in our game in terms of what the experience we wanted people to have. So it's all kind of like a nostalgia thing for us, honestly.
So, and I'm going to ask you some like more gaming business questions as well. Like we could sit here talking about Last Flag probably all day. We could sit here playing it all day. But as somebody who is coming into the games industry, but I'm sure you've been a long time observer as well. Like, what do you think gaming CEOs should be focusing on right now in the industry?
Oh, gosh. I mean, that's I feel very sheepish answering that question, right? Because
I want to hear your answer.
I'm new and I can only speak to my own experience.
Well, what has your experience been?
My experience is that it's not too different from anything else happening in entertainment right now, where people have unlimited options and a very small window in which they will assess, am I in your tribe? Are you making something that's for me? And do I want to do it? And so branding is more important than it's ever been. Helping people to really quickly understand exactly what you are in that small window is so important. And then the other side of it is community. It's, you can have the #1 song in the world on Spotify and not be able to sell a ticket to a concert. And people might forget about you a month later because of that casual relationship people have in entertainment. And the flip side of that is, so it's so important to focus on community and building real relationships with people. And that's hard, and it's still hand-to-hand combat. So you could do all the streamer activations, all the other stuff, but the person that I sit down with at a conference and they like play our game and we talk about it is going to be worth 10 people who wish list. You know what I mean? Those are people who are going to talk to their friends and have a real relationship to what you're making. And so I think that focus is more important than it's ever been. That'd be my thought.
Kind of got a flip side question of that as well. Yeah. So what do you think people in outside industries, like the music industry, for example, what could they learn from gaming?
I think they could learn from the selflessness of game developers. I think there's nothing like the level of support and love and lack of egos. And there's exceptions, I'm sure. We all know them probably. But the way that I see people reach out from studio to studio, it never feels like a zero-sum game. People really celebrate each other's victories and mourn with each other in their hard times. I see that a lot. And I think it can be a little more snipey in some other industries. It can be a little, not, again, I'm generalizing. That's not fair probably, but I do think that there's something very warm about the way that the creative process is seen by game developers.
There's one question I have to ask though. It's like, speaking of like the industry crossover there, do you have a take on, where the games adaptations are right now? Because games are sort of bleeding over into other industries now. The movie industry being a big part of it, but I'm sure like Imagine Dragons has been a major part of it. You've been at the Game Awards and
twice.
Yeah, I was there. I saw it. I saw the whole thing. So what's your take on, industry crossovers, like the future of the industry crossover?
Yeah, on one hand, it's really exciting because I think it's not weird if you were to make the claim to anybody in entertainment that the next big IP will come from gaming rather than from a book or a movie or something else. I think that wouldn't surprise people. That's a huge shift, I feel. But then culturally, at the same time, it's interesting that gaming still does not quite get, at least in the mainstream press, the credit I think it deserves. Stories that are huge in the gaming world and huge in the entertainment world don't really always translate across major media channels in a way that a story in film or TV or somewhere else would. And, I think it's because people are still kind of catching up to it, strangely. It's like always, I feel like the perception is always a little bit behind the reality in terms of how powerful and important this medium is. And it's a special medium because what else combines storytelling and visual art and sound and music and all of these things in a way that's interactive art as well? Food is probably the only thing that beats it because, you also get to like take it into your body, but it's a very special art form and people love it all over the world and it connects people all over the world. And so, I'm not saying people don't know that gaming is big, but I think that there's still like, perception is not quite there yet.
Food does have fewer narrative conventions than games do. We'll say that, at least in my experience.
Depends on, depends on the cook.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking from my own experience, like the amount of like when I told people I work in the games industry or I write about video games, that's the phrase, I write about video games, and it took a long time for the reaction to stop being, oh, how cute. Sort of like, oh, that's nice. When are you going to move on to big girl journalism, basically? And I'm like, no, this is big girl journalism. But if you have to say it, then, of course, people don't necessarily believe you. It's taken a long time to sort of move past that perception. When I say like, yeah, I interviewed the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company and I just don't tell them that it's like game publisher X. So, but yeah. It's been it has been a transition in the last few years, I think, to the certain. But you're right that there's still that level of respectability.
Yeah,
I think is probably the right word
Yeah.
that gaming has yet to
when
achieve.
you tell people the hard numbers and you're like, oh, this many billion people are playing this genre of a game, like it just doesn't even compute for people sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that it sort of like blanks them out a little bit because they think,
Yeah.
well, I don't play that.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know anyone who does. I'm like, well, have you asked? But last question, 2026. What are your plans? What's the plan for Night Street and for Mac Reynolds?
Launching a game. We're launching a game. This is our year, 2026. And, it's something we've been building for a long time. And, I'm just grateful for everybody who has tried it, everybody who has critiqued it for good or bad. And, and I hope people will give it a chance. There's a lot of options people have in games, but I'm really proud of what we've made, and we're going to put it out in 2026. So
you heard it here, 2026, last flag from Night Street Games. And thank you so much for being here, Mac. Thank you for talking. Thank you for talking to us at the big show. And it was wonderful to meet you. Can't wait to play the game.
Thanks. Appreciate it.